All right, we're recording, so we can start. I think we have all the commissioners present, I believe. We will start by welcoming Kevin Fierro. He is the new commissioner. He was appointed, and I believe you took your oath of office this afternoon, right?
Yes, I did.
All right, so you can participate fully. You do need to get that filed with the town clerk and get a stamped copy acknowledging said filing. So you're official. You can participate.
Steve, do
Okay.
we have to do that by a resolution?
What's that?
We have to do that by a resolution out in public?
I don't know. We can do that. Why don't we do that right now? So I would move that we appoint Kevin Fierro as commissioner to fill out the third year of Barney Kalane's term through the end of 2020. I need a second.
I'll second.
Okay. Bob, what's your pleasure?
Aye.
Russ?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
I vote aye as well. Motion carries. So now you're official. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll start with correspondence. I got a lot of devices going here, so I do apologize because I didn't print everything out. We had a correspondence from I have it here, Karen. I know here they are. We have a correspondence from First Responder newspaper, and they want to know if we want to continue receiving a department bundle, which is 6 copies of First Responder for $85 for the year. We have gotten this. I think we get more than one bundle. Do you know, Bob, have we paid anything for First Responder previously?
I'll have to check, Steve, but I know I've seen mail come in as well, so.
All right, because one bundle is totally sufficient in my mind. I don't know what you think, Don, out there.
One. He said
One.
one.
So I would move that we authorize Bob Simon to make payment to First Responder newspaper to the tune of $85 for the department bundle, unless, of course, he sees that we paid this previously this year. Need a second?
This is Jim Pasikoff. I'm
Yeah.
just looking at the ledger now, and $85 was paid on March 11th.
All right, one bundle is sufficient. Scratch that. We don't need 2 bundles. Okay, so that's that. And then we had the statement from RBC. That was the only correspondence that we had. Anybody else have any other correspondence? Very good. The minutes, we all have had opportunity to review the minutes from the May meeting. And I need a motion to accept the minutes.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes from the May
Need a
meeting.
Second.
Second.
All right, any discussion, corrections, additions? I think somebody had some spelling, took a U out of SCBA. You got that one corrected, Karen?
Yes, I did.
All right.
And we got the video out on the web right now anyway.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, we do want to make sure the minutes are, we believe, are an accurate representation of what took place.
Karen,
right,
that's
that-
from the transcription, right?
The minutes are not from the transcription.
No, the
Oh,
minutes
that's
aren't.
your work, okay.
Yeah, yep.
And as much as we'd like to think otherwise, Karen is not infallible, so.
Close.
All right, Bob, what's your pleasure?
Aye.
Russ?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
All right, Kevin, I assume that you will abstain because you weren't here to make the judgment.
Okay, staying.
And I will vote aye as well. The motion carries 4-0. All righty, financials. We have all had opportunity to review the bills and vouchers. I covet a motion to pay the bills per the abstract.
Make a motion that we pay the bills per the abstract.
Looking for a second?
Second it.
Okay, any discussion, concerns? Kevin, what we do usually is try to get to the meeting about a half hour early, if we were meeting on site. Or you can line up a special time with Bob so you can review the vouchers and the bills. As you attend the commissioner's class, they'll get into what you should look for. A lot of it's just common sense. You want to make sure that the bills are made out to the district. The checks will be on the voucher, so you want to make sure that the checks are made out to the correct party, right? And you're going to have a lot of questions the first time you do it, so you might want to budget some extra time with Bob. But did you get a copy of the abstract, Kevin?
I believe yes, I did.
Okay, all right. So you know at least what we're paying and who we're
Right.
paying to.
Yes, I do. I have it.
All right.
Kevin,
any
that's
other-
Bob Simon, not Bob T.
That is Bob Simon. We have to
Okay.
come up with some mean to differentiate the two of you. Okay, so that being said, I did not hear any concerns or discussion. Russ, what's your pleasure?
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Kevin,
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
I vote aye as well. The motion carries 5-0. Okay, I have had opportunity to review the bank statement, and I do find that the financial report is presented by Mr. Pasikoff, and the bank statements are in agreement. And I would therefore move that we accept the financial reports. Covet a second.
Second.
All right, any discussion? I know that no one else has had opportunity. I will have the financial statements here. And if somebody else wants to look at them, you just need to let me know right now and I'll make sure you get a look at them.
We trust you.
Well, you shouldn't. You shouldn't trust anybody.
Well, Mr. Pasikoff sent them out on an email, so I got a copy in the email today.
Right, everybody should have the email, the statements. You just haven't had an opportunity to look at the bank statements. So that being said, Mike, what's your pleasure?
Aye.
Kevin,
Aye.
Russ,
Aye.
and Bob?
Aye.
I vote aye as well. Motion carries. So AUD, I think Simon sent to everyone a copy of the AUD. Did you get my note, Bob Simon, that the phone number you had down for me is incorrect?
I did get your note, but I don't think I sent the AUD out to everybody. That
Oh, you
Yeah, I
did?
don't have it.
All right.
I can send it out to everyone, but
Yeah,
that
please.
AUD was being sent to the auditors, and I was just copying you, but I'll send the AUD out to everyone.
All right, but that was filed last month, we decided?
Yeah, that was already
Right.
done like a month and a half
Yeah, so
ago.
that was just for the auditors. Okay. If anybody else wants it, they can get it. What is the status between Jim Pasikoff and Bob? What's the status of the independent audit?
I sent in those forms, so there's basically 17 items that we need to send to them, and I've sent them 5 so far. I've got to go and scan a bunch of invoices, so that's, I'll hopefully get that done by the end of the week. And then it's on there.
All right.
They're doing everything, this is Jim Pasikoff. They're doing everything remotely. They don't want to travel either. So it's a matter of whatever they need, we have to make a copy of and send to them.
Right. No, I get it. It's just frustrating because we're not going to make June 30th yet.
They might
again.
surprise you.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, if you get it, we're going to call a special meeting and we're going to get it filed by June 30th because I'm bound and determined. So, but you think we're on course, Jim?
I think you're on course.
All right. Any concerns or?
No, this is, Rebecca Reynolds is the person that's running the audit, and she ran the audit 5 years ago. And she said it's night and day.
All right, we'll leave it at that. How's that?
That's
Any other concerns for Mr. Pasikoff in the financial realm? Let me just look down the topic list here. I don't see anything else financially related on the topic list. Bob, Kevin, Russ, Mike, any other issues for Jim?
I'm good.
No, I'm good.
All righty. Well, Mr. Pasikoff, you are free to stay.
bye-bye.
Don't let the door hit you.
Have a good night.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, I gotta get Glenda in. Sorry. Sorry, Glenda, didn't see you out there.
Oh,
All right. Estes, you there?
Yeah.
I assume you have a report for us.
Yes. Bob's bringing the phone over and socially distant from me. Bob's always distant from me, though. All right. First comment was we had performed a number of what we refer to as drive-bys throughout the community as requested for children's birthdays, Memorial Day. Also very good to run the equipment and do some driver training at the same time. The comments from the public has been astronomically wonderful, well appreciated, and it's been a very, very positive thing that we've done for the community. We had 10 calls for the month of May, 40 for the year. Our drill this month will be on 6/16. We will be doing our hazmat module. We will be doing SCBA, and we will be doing a decon, broken up in smaller groups so there's no concern. What we have done now is the fact that from the virus, we were doing quick call on one Monday a month on the first Monday of the month and splitting everything up and getting everything done because you still have to do rig checks and SCBA checks. Has to be done. So found out, and very much the blessing on Chief Bathrick of it too, and we do our first Monday of the month, we do our quick call. That gives us other than the meeting night, which is the second Monday of the month, that gives us 2 other Mondays during the month to do additional training in addition to the drills that we have. So we are up and running and doing the training. It's not in large groups. If we do get a large group, we meet outside. But things are going very well with that new. So if COVID did us a favor, it was telling us to do our quick calls once a month and spend the other time doing training. And it's worked very, very well. We will doing bailout this Saturday, and the what I call the non-bailout, the people who have already been certified that have gone through the full bailout training. We have to do what, 3 jumps, Jim? Yes. So there'll be those interior have already gone through it. Will be recertifying on the bailout, which is mandatory annually, and so we are doing that this Saturday, come heck or high water. The Cascade system, which we've had a few problems with and it has been serviced for a while, will be serviced this Friday afternoon so that we can make sure that all the valves are clear, and because we had some trouble with the bottles equalizing out. That's why I don't like people who, unless they're really trained on it, to play with it. So anyway, that is getting serviced this Friday. Forestry gear, I've got the form filled out for our grant from the DEC. I'm quite sure we will get the grant, but we have to have had the gear delivered before I can get the grant. I was guaranteed that the gear would be delivered before the end of June. The grant application is June 30th. So I'm quite sure that that will be accommodated, and I'm 99% sure that we will be getting the grant, which will cover a portion of it. The driver's recert has started up again, and so we are primarily done. I'd say, what, 75% done with it? No, getting that annual, we had the bump in the road. And let's see, host test had to be rescheduled. Our host test now is July 30th. And I believe that's all I have.
Anybody have any questions for Don? If I may, Don, I participated in a few of the drive-bys. I did the Memorial Day where we covered a vast majority of the town. And it was moving. It was encouraging. I think people were encouraged to see people stand with their hands over their hearts, or to see people run out of their buildings, out of their houses, waving their flags. Spoke a lot to me.
Volumes. It was very, very moving, and it's been, we don't have much more scheduled going forward, but it has been a real blessing for the community and a good outreach at this time of difficulty.
Very good. All right, Mr. Bathrick, you there?
I'm here, but I had nothing. Don pretty much took care of everything.
Yeah,
Don took care of it.
Yeah,
All right.
took care of it.
Kevin Russell.
Kevin's in Virginia Beach or someplace.
All right, Kevin is not present. Susan.
Susan here. Okay, so for EMS, we actually had 7 calls, even though the report says 6. We kind of missed one. That we've got 7 for the month, and that actually brings us to 48 for the year. So we're right on par with what we normally do each year. None of them have been COVID calls. I like to stress that. None of them. What else? I think that we have a drill. We have a drill that we're gonna do the end of the month. No, I'm not. And anyway, so there'll be an EMS drill. Topic is still to be determined, but that's going to be the last Tuesday. It's probably going to be a review of overdoses and Narcan and such. I don't know. I mean, we didn't turn any calls over, so our response is still 100%, and we're just moving forward. We've got, in terms of the exams, the new EMTs coming in, we've got one that passed both practical and written. We have one more that is scheduled to take his written. That's Stephen Brown is scheduled to take his written next Tuesday. And Ari Mizell has come in, is extremely enthusiastic, helpful, and has come in both feet. Yeah, jumped in both feet. So the only other thing, let's follow up on the ESO. Bob and I we've completed the first 2 levels of administrative training, getting it set up, configured. We'll be doing our end user training on Monday morning, which is another 3 hours. And then with a little more practice before we go live. So that's happening. Okay.
All right, very good.
Bob yep, good. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Steve, question. How
Go ahead.
many EMTs do you see in 30 days online?
How many EMTs?
How many EMTs does East Clinton have in about 30 days?
In 30 days,
Yes.
Susan, how many EMTs will we have in 30 days? I can think of potentially 6 or 7. Susan,
Sure.
You don't agree with me just for the sake of agreeing with me.
I think
So,
it's total.
There's me, there's Bob, Steve, Ari, Kevin Colley,
And Stephen Brown. You passed
and
it.
Stephen Brown.
So it's
All right.
6.
Stephen Brown.
Six.
Yeah, 6. so sure, 6,
potentially 6.
yeah.
And we have a few more coming online in a while.
We did not have a very good yield out of the EMT class. Let's just leave it there.
Okay.
That's correct.
All right. Any other question? Any questions for Susan or any of the other? All right, safety. We have not had a safety meeting. We were due one in May, but with the COVID mess going on, we did not get that done. We're going to schedule a safety meeting, hopefully for the end of June. Get our zone inspections done. Go over any accidents. I don't believe there were any. Any close calls. I don't believe there were any. All right, onto the topic list. Bob Trzynski, if you would be so kind to talk about the defined contribution plan filing update.
Okay, that one we pretty much finished up. Rod sent the letter to Penflex. Penflex has accepted it, and there's a letter in the mail to Karen right now that the defined contribution plan is, use the word certified, but that's not the right word to use. But we're good to go come January 1st for 2020 for the members, the new members as of January 1st, or any other members that weren't in the old defined benefit plan.
All right, excellent. I saw that letter come through. I breathed a sigh of relief, and we get to put that to bed and move on, right?
Yeah, we won't be talking about that anymore.
Amen. All right, cancer insurance. We talked last month, and you got some different rates for cancer insurance, and maybe just for Kevin's sake and for the sake of the people in the public, you want to review quickly what New York State has done, what we've done in response to that so far, and some of the thoughts that you and I certainly share about the adequacy of what we've done.
Okay, a number of years ago, I think it was 2013, New York State Legislature passed a law that requires all fire districts in New York State to provide it's a cancer insurance, but it's not a medical cancer insurance. It's it fills in the gap for transportation. There's a death benefit involved for all interior firefighters that didn't have cancer when they joined up and that have 5 years of fit tests. And that's interior firefighters. If the firefighter is an exterior, but was an interior that met that qualification for 5 years, they're also covered. Also, either of those classifications leave a district for 5 years after they leave, they also must be covered. After that time, they can purchase it on their own. The law was created mostly by the insurance companies. There's significant problems with it. Our attorney, Rod, has recommended that we don't engage. Myself and Russ, Commissioner Tompkins, actually visited our new insurance provider, and we read through the contracts. There's some clauses in there that are really problematic. So we haven't engaged up to this point. However, most districts, not all, but most districts have engaged. And according to Linda, our insurance agent, if you will, the insurance company has paid out to various people. And that's within the last, say, 2 to 3 months. So they are responding. But that clause, as I read it, was, okay, you just give us not even the name of the people that you want to cover, but just the number of people that you want to cover. And when a claim comes in, we'll let you know if we cover them. So that's where we're at. We probably shouldn't let it go with no, oh, by the way, East Clinton, along with other districts, are self-insuring. There is a law on the books that says we must do it if certain criteria are met. So it's a very poorly crafted law. But we shouldn't let it go forever. And that's where we're at. Steve last month asked me what the dollar costs were for the various coverages. There's another problem with the basic coverage. It doesn't cover lung cancers, and it doesn't cover, I think it's liver cancers, two most common cancers that firemen experience. So to answer Steve's question from last month, the full coverage with lung coverage is about $188 per member. And I think it's $147 per person for basic. So there's not a big split between the two.
So, Don Estes,
Yo!
what is your, we talked briefly the other night, how many interior firefighters do we have right now, and how many people do we have active currently that have been interior firefighters?
We have 8 interiors, and currently active that were previously interiors is 2.
2. So that 188 was an annual premium, Bob?
Yes.
All right. And you think it's worth the difference for the 147 versus the 188 because of lung cancer?
Just because lung is in there, our folks are not all spring chickens, and things are going to happen. I lean strongly to go with the 188 per member coverage.
So you want to go in the high end?
It doesn't make sense not to have lung if we're going to do this.
All right.
When you have a chance, can you hear me, Steve?
I can hear you, Russ.
Okay, Bob was, I don't know if you were experiencing it, but Bob was breaking out a lot during his dissertation, and a lot of it was just watching him. I was trying to read lips.
Oh, I had him 100%.
Okay, well, then it was just something on my end because he kept breaking up. I thought we had already. No, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of something else. I thought we had discussed this and we're opting to go to the minimum required.
No, I think that's.
Ross, we were just talking about it. Again, the law is problematic no matter how you look at it. But it just doesn't, in my mind, it's a waste of money not to have lung and liver. And I think there was something else in the enhanced that was significant. I just can't remember it.
And again, for somebody to qualify this, they had to be interior for 5 years to meet that qualification before they would get it. And either in the past or starting now, they can't get it until they have 5 years.
Yeah, well, Russ, I'm sorry to interrupt you, which I do too much, but the board can override all of that. The law doesn't lock us into it. It allows us to make decisions. If we wanted to, we could give it to every member. We're not looking at that. But just as a thank you, and I think it's the right thing to do for the members that are, whether they have 5 years or not. If you're interior or you were interior, just go ahead and do it. That's where I'm coming down. It's not that much money. And the money that those folks being there save the taxpayers is really significant.
From reading something recently on one of the emails, it seemed to me like I guess I'm disagreeing with you. The way I interpret it was, unless they have 5 years, and they were talking about fit tests, and then they were saying there was other ways you could prove the 5 years, but unless they had 5 years of interior, this didn't kick in.
The board can opt to select the people that it's ambiguous. The law, and this comes from Rod, he spotted it first. The way the law is written, from the day you joined the fire district back, when dirt was new, for some of the folks, you should have been tested for cancer. Well, that doesn't happen. Didn't happen. I didn't even have, I don't know about you, when I joined up, I didn't even have a physical when I joined up. It was only till later. So the board can decide to invoke this for the number, I guess we're talking about 10, we still are at the mercy of the insurance company. That bothers me a little bit, but I don't know. I think
Well,
we should do it.
I would be in favor of sticking with the requirement of 5 years of interior and not just giving it to everybody myself. I mean, how many fires in a year is an interior firefighter going into a building? I think you're getting a little overly generous if you're just going to turn around and give it to everybody. That's just my opinion.
Let's get a motion on the floor before we get any more. If there's not a motion in a second, there's no sense going any further. Bob, you going to make a motion?
Okay, I'll make a motion that we, wait a moment. We purchase, the district purchases 10 insurance slots for the cancer insurance, the enhanced cancer insurance.
Okay, and I will second for the purpose of discussion. I have a question for Don Estes. Of the eight firefighters that are currently interior, are there any who have not been active for 5 years or interior for 5 years?
No.
All right, so all 8 currently active have been interior firefighters for 5 years.
Yes.
All
I
right.
have a question for Don also. Don, the folks that are haven't met the 5-year minimum, are they really active folks?
But
Do they really go to a lot of calls?
everybody's met the 5 years, I think, is what I understood him to say.
Correct.
Oh, they have. So the 5-year isn't an issue.
Nope.
Okay, that's new information. Didn't know that.
All right. I mean, my concern, because a lot of the input we've gotten from Rod McLeod, the attorney especially, is that the law is poorly written. And my concern is being self-insured, we might be exposing the district to a liability that I don't think for $1,880 a year, we should expose the district to. I don't know what you think on that, Bob.
We're at the mercy of a judge, and these days I think the judges are going to lean toward paying the firemen if there is a court case. I think we'd lose in court. It's just the way the winds are blowing.
You're not going to be purchasing 10 if you only have 8 people that are qualified for it. You're going to be purchasing 8.
Well, we have 2 who are currently active, but have been interior for a minimum of 5 years in past years.
Okay, I thought Don said we had 8 total.
We have 8 in active interior and 2 that are active exterior, and they qualify under the law.
Who were formerly interior.
I may not be making friends here, but the ones that meet the 5-year requirement for interior, whether it's in the past or current, I have no problem with. But if they haven't met that 5-year requirement, I'm not in favor of it.
So what I think we have is 8 who are current and 2 who were formerly interior firefighters for 5 years.
Very good.
Is that correct, Donald?
That is correct. Again.
Thank you. All right. Mike, any questions or concerns on your end?
Nope, it all makes sense to me.
All right,
Understand
Kevin, what say ye? I know this is like, we start throwing abbreviations and all kinds of stuff, alphabet soup, ESO and ISO and what, you have any questions or need any clarification?
No, I'm kind of catching up here. I kind of agree with it. It kind of makes sense to me.
Okay. Any further discussion? All right, that being said, Russ, what's your pleasure?
To approve 10 at the higher rate of 180 something a month.
Yep.
Aye.
Okay, Bob,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Kevin,
Aye.
and I vote aye as well. The motion carries 5-0. Now, Bob, are you gonna call into Flanagan and do you need a roster?
I do not. They're not asking names. They're not asking anything. It's all on us. We're the ones that are certifying the whole goings on until there's a claim, and then the insurance adjuster is going to get involved, and then the questions will start being asked.
All right, but I think it would be appropriate and kind of a CYA kind of thing if Don, you would submit a list of the 8 + 2 to Karen so that she can keep it with the minutes of this meeting and we will know who it is that we've been talking about.
This shall be done right now.
All right, I think the appropriate response is, so shall it be written, so shall it be done.
So shall it be done.
All right, very good.
So I'll call Linda. I'll get her a number of 10, and she'll develop an invoice, and Bob Simon will have to pay it.
Yeah, we can get that done in July.
Okay.
All right, thank you. So, the ISO rating and West Clinton and all that. Bob, you and I went through that list of addresses, right? And I modified that list because Schultzville Road is not passable 12 months of the year. I contacted Todd Martin, the chairman at West Clinton, and I believe they also meet this evening. So I'm not surprised that I didn't hear from him. But our intent is to set up a meeting. I was very specific in the correspondence I had with him. My intent was to set up a meeting where we could discuss a contractual relationship whereby West Clinton will be responding to essentially all addresses on the northern end of the county for anything that could be a potential structure fire, right? Kind of lost my train of thought.
You had a question on the AFAs.
Yeah, we did have a question on the AFA. I think we looked at, like, there were 39 responses for 18, 19, and 20 year to date. There were 39 situations, according to the numbers Don accumulated, where West Clinton responded under mutual aid on first alarm, on first dispatch. 33 of the 39 were automatic fire alarms, right?
The insurance company is going to want us, the AFAs in the contract, because they're insuring the residents. And an AFA can turn into a real thing pretty quick.
Right. And the hope of this whole exercise is that we can get the ISO rate for houses at the north end of the district that are beyond 5 miles from the East Clinton firehouse down to a more reasonable 8.5 or so, as opposed to the 10 that we're starting to see for most of the people up here. My concern is, and Bob, you mentioned this and I looked at it, next summer when the Fiddler's Bridge Road bridge goes out, a lot of the residences up here actually are going to be in excess of 5 miles, even from West Clinton Station 2. And that kind of colors the approach. So I looked at, I believe, Tobin. I was actually, my house on Maple Lane here, I was pushing 4 miles, right? It's like 1.5 miles when the bridge is there. I was pushing 4 miles when they had to go over and about. Grissom Place is another one that, you can just shoot down Center Road to Clinton Hollow Road and be right at Grissom, because all of Grissom is like 5.1 miles in distance from the East Clinton Firehouse, no matter how you travel, right? So they would have to shoot down Schoolhouse, but Tobin was in excess of 5 miles. The addresses on Pumpkin Lane near the Parkway, a lot of Spruce Lane, they were all in excess of 5 miles. So that's going to color our approach, but we haven't heard from Todd, right? I think maybe in anticipation of hearing from Todd, we should appoint 2 commissioners to discuss the issue. I would move that Bob Trzynski and myself be those 2. Is anybody in opposition to that? Russ, you all right with that?
No, Russ, do you want to get in on that? I'll bow out.
I can go along with you, but I think the 2 that he appointed are, you have more knowledge about it than anybody else. You've been working on it longer.
All right, Kevin, you good with that?
Fine. I'm fine with that, yeah.
All right, Mike, you good with that?
Yeah, you guys have a, knowledge of it and invested interest in it too, 'cause you're affected.
All right, so that being said, if I don't hear from Todd in short order, I will approach him again, and hopefully we can get a meeting lined up. Don, would you be able to help us out on this? Donald?
Don stepped out for a sec.
Yeah, all right. Well, Don just got enlisted. If you're absent, you volunteered by definition, right?
Steve, following what you were saying, Steve, when the bridge is out, even if West Clinton is amiable to go on first response, they're going to be over to 5 miles. Is that what you were saying?
They're going to be about 4.5 miles from your house.
Yeah, but I mean, they can't cross here, so they have to come up into Clinton Hollow and then north.
Either that or they go up Lake Drive to Slate Quarry and come south.
Yeah, well, actually, that's probably closer, yeah.
So, but, so it just colors our approach, right? And we know there's going to be 6 or 8 months in 2021 where no matter what you do, okay, you are not going to be within 5 miles of a firehouse.
Steve, I don't think this contractual development is going to be quick anyway. We're going to have to really go around quite a few times.
All right. So
Don's back if you want to tell him what he got volunteered for.
yeah, Don, you just got volunteered to help. Wait a minute, gotta plug my computer in before we run out of gas. We just
Tell
got
Don, Bob, he and I are going to work the project.
All right, that'll work.
Don, you there?
What's going on? What?
And we're going to have try to get this contract going with West Clinton for coverage in the north. The committee is you, me, and Bob Trzynski.
Oh, let me feign excitement.
Okay, thank you. Next topic. Facilities Committee. When we appointed Kevin as the replacement commissioner, and we haven't made a vote yet, so probably we should start with that. We also opted to appoint Elliot Werner as a community member of the Facilities Committee. And I would really like to see this committee start up again and develop a project plan, develop an approach where we can ascertain if there's a need, what the need is, and how we're going to present this need to the public. Brainstorming solutions. I'm not sure what it is. Okay. But I think the first order of business is I can appoint, I believe, that was what the motion was by Commissioner Pillane previously, a person from up to 2 or more people from the community. So I hereby appoint Elliot Werner as a community member on the Facilities Committee. Elliot, I'm going to unmute you. Is that good with you?
Yeah, that's great.
All right, thank you. I'm going to mute you again. Whoops. I don't know where you went. There you are. Okay. So thank you. He's a member of that committee. So we had Bill Baldwin. We had Art Weiland. You're on, Art. We had Elliot Werner now. We have Don, you and Kevin, I believe, were the department representatives, and it escapes me who the commissioner representatives were. There was going to be 2, and we were trying not for it to be me because we thought that was less than objective. So I don't, who recalls who the commissioner?
Mike
It was Mike and Barney.
No, okay, Mike, you had stepped away from that, if I recall.
Right.
So, we need two. Russ, would you be willing?
Yeah, I guess so.
Thank you. And Kevin, would you be willing?
Sure.
All right.
Wait a minute. I don't know if I want to work with him.
All right. I am going to appoint, Kevin as chair. Sorry, Kevin. But if you could all get Kevin your information, the objective would be at least, I will give you Bill Baldwin's information. Art, you're online, so you're aware of what's going on. Elliot, you're with us. You know what's going on. Somehow or another, we want to get to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people together, and my goal would be for the July meeting to have some kind of project plan in place. Is that reasonable?
Well, I don't know. You mean how much of a project plan? I mean, there's going to be a lot of different opinions, and I don't know. You're not going to come up with anything.
I'm not looking for a project. I'm not looking for like, this is what we're going to build. I'm looking for this is the sequence of events that we're going to go through in order to establish the need, in order to present the need to the, what steps do we have to take to do a thorough job, to establish the need, to come up with ideas. I don't expect any answers in July. What I'm hoping for is a plan as to how the project should proceed. A lot of silence. Kevin, you and I will talk later.
Well, Steve, now explain the project real briefly again, please.
Well, so essentially what we have is a 65-year-old facility, which is, in a lot of people's opinion, deficient in many aspects. Okay, no room for expansion. A lot of the safety requirements that have come into place since the facility built was, well, I don't know, Chick, when was it, 1957 or something like that? I can give a thumbs up if I'm close. It's almost frightening to pull a truck out of the bays because I think clearance on the tanker is about 2 inches, maybe.
-1.
Well, it depends who's driving, Don. So I think one of the steps is finding out what the requirements are and finding out how we are potentially deficient relative to those requirements. And there's a lot that you don't know. There's a whole bunch of acronyms like PESH and OSHA. You know who OSHA is, I'm sure. I don't know if you.
I do. Yep.
I don't know if you know the PESH acronym or not.
I do not.
Okay. There's a lot of potential deficiencies that I think we need to identify, right?
Right.
I think we need to figure out how we can mitigate those deficiencies, right? And I think we would not be doing the public justice if we just jumped in with both feet and said, new facility, that's the answer. Okay, and that might be the answer. I'm not saying it isn't. I think we have to go through the exercise, right, in order to give the public a reasonable perspective as to what the requirements are. If we can't list the requirements and show them how we're deficient relative to those requirements, why would I, as a member of the public, vote to borrow $2, $3, $4 million to build new facility, right? I think as much as it may seem like busy work, we have an obligation to go through the exercise correctly and to develop a reasonable approach if we think we're going to get anywhere. And so we don't need answers in July. What we need, like is some kind of schedule as to how we're going to develop those answers.
Okay.
Right? You know, and it's kind of like, you know, if you go to your boss and at work and say you want to spend a lot of money, he's not going to just say, oh yeah, sure, Kevin, you're a nice guy, you do a lot of good work, here, I'll sign that, right? He's going to say, tell me about this, why is it necessary, justify this, how is this going to make things better, right? Are there savings? You know all the questions because I know you've been around.
Let me ask you a question, Steve.
Yeah.
Okay, Steve, you gave me Kevin, myself, Elliot Werner, Art Weiland, and some gentleman named Baldwin. Was that it, or was there anybody else?
Bill Baldwin, and then 2 department members, Don Estes and Kevin Russell.
Okay. If you could forward the information, the contact information for these folks to Kevin and myself, it'd be nice because I don't have phone numbers for everybody, and there's a lot that I have no information for.
Yeah, I have a combination of email addresses, cell phone numbers, and the like, but I will for each individual get whatever information I have. I have Elliot's email and phone number. I have Art's email, at least, probably a phone number. I think it ends in, we won't go there. I have Bill Baldwin's cell. I know I have Kevin's and Don's contact information. I have obviously yours and Kevin's. I think that's it. So we can do that. I'll get everybody's the information. I'll get Kevin and Russ the info. How's that?
Okay.
Any questions, concerns? And again, we're not looking for answers. We're looking actually next month for the series of questions. All right.
Okay. Sure.
Moving along, if there's nothing else on that. Is Kim there or Ed there at the firehouse?
Hey, Steve, could I ask a question or would you rather have me wait?
Go ahead.
For those of us who haven't had access to the building, can we arrange for a walkthrough?
Absolutely. We're there Monday nights. Or Donald, would you be willing to give Elliot a plant tour, so to speak?
$1.50.
A pluck 50.
A bargain at twice the price. I'll give you a
Okay.
call, Don. We'll figure it out.
All right, that
Okay.
works.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Intersection of Firehouse Lane and Salt Point Turnpike. I think you all received from Karen a copy of the letter that I was commissioned to write to Commissioner Baldwin of the Department of Public Works. Any questions on that? Go ahead.
Steve, do they reply to you, or is it?
Actually, Balkind has in the past replied to me.
Because it'd be nice if they shoot us down, it'd be nice if we have that in our pocket to say, well, look, we've tried here.
He has in the past replied to me. Let's give him till July, and if we don't get a reply, we'll I think I have his email. We'll go with the more direct approach. All right. Okay, and I got distracted. Is Kim or Ed at the firehouse?
No.
Oh, okay. Karen, you're there. How are we making out? I think you and Kim got together on the active member list. Do we have continued deficiencies? Do we make progress? Where are we on that?
No, there's, she sent over an updated active member list, and there doesn't seem to be any deficiencies.
All right, very good.
Karen, you're going to send that around to the
Yeah.
commissioners?
Yep, I will send that to everybody.
And I sent you on the LoSAP list a couple of questions. We can deal with it later.
Yes. Mhm.
Okay.
All right, Kevin, did you get forwarded a copy of the proposed policies for drug testing and for physical requirements?
Yes, I did, Steve.
You did? Oh, did I do that or did somebody else?
The substance abuse policy?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. I don't know that we want to reach any decisions tonight because Rod wasn't able to be here. He did have a death in the family, and he is traveling. But hopefully people have had an opportunity to look at that, and if there are any comments, maybe we could communicate those to Rod and get his feedback. So does anybody have any comments on that active member? Oh, well, let's start with the drug testing policy.
Yeah, I've got a number of comments, but really need to send it to you and the commissioners and Don, and certainly Rod also.
Don, did you get a copy of those?
No.
All right.
Yeah, Don's going to need to see them because these will definitely get his attention.
Yeah, I kind of hate to monkey around with email on when I'm on the computer because I hate for the whole meeting to just disappear or evaporate.
I can send. Oh, I may be able to do it here. Hang on. Give me a minute or two.
All right. So do we want to discuss these at all, or we want to have Don look at them, get his comments, and do this via email?
I'd slow it down and so we can get it right.
All right, I'm good with that. Karen, you did give us a copy of the active member reinstatement policy as requested. Thank you. Where were we headed with that? Here we go. So there was something in there, I think, that addressed the 5% requirement. I don't know, that was part of the policy? And for Kevin and others who are in the public, last year we passed an active member policy, which basically said that there are certain minimum requirements to continue to participate. 6 drills a year so that we know you're going to be safe because we have an OSHA component to every drill. A certain number of required, New York State required modules relative to topics such as sexual harassment, workplace violence, HIPAA, and other such things. 5% of calls and a physical. Am I missing anything, Don?
No.
All right.
Physical, the modules, 6 drills. 6 drills and the modules is the OSHA, and 5% of the calls of either EMS or fire or both. And that's it.
Yeah. So we came up with a remedy for people who did not make the drills, and that was that they are not active to start the next calendar year until they make up the missing drills, and they would be allowed to do that in the first 2 months of that calendar year. I don't recall, and I don't have the policy, I apologize, right in front of me. Hopefully somebody does. I thought we said to remedy the 5% that basically the chief would counsel, make a decision, and then we would monitor that person for a certain period of time. Did that become part of policy, or was that just a recommendation?
That was a recommendation that we just followed. I think we did it in an executive session.
Okay.
And we followed through on it for 19 into early 20. And that completed, but we had to revisit that. And there was one other catch-22 in it, and it's not in front of me right now, where there was no vehicle for a person that fell out of compliance to get back into compliance. Because it was kind of like a circular, you're out, but you can't get back in.
Right. So I think what we had said is that we had the remedy for missing drills or the modules, right? The physical is an easy remedy. You take your physical, or you can't be active, right? Because we want to make sure people are are not going to injure themselves because they're not physically fit.
And on that specific point, when you don't pass a physical at that moment in time, you are not an active fireman.
Right.
You're not an active member.
As soon as Don or Karen gets notification, if Karen gets it, she should notify Don, and that member should be notified that he can no longer be active until he goes to his doctor, gets the situation remedied, and gets a physical again by TEK, or return to duty physical. Okay.
Or a doctor from the district specifies.
Right.
But Steve, there's a point.
Yeah.
The person that gets the physical at that moment in time, that person has the responsibility of taking themselves out of the active list. It's not, well, when Don tells them they're not active, when the physician, the TEK, a person says you don't pass, that person, it's that person's responsibility to not respond. Because we've had an instance where there was a gap and we didn't catch it.
You're correct. You don't hear the night of the physical that you don't pass, right? And I think communication comes through to Karen and to Don. Am I incorrect in that, Karen?
It comes to me, I usually forward it to Don.
Okay, all right.
So the person doesn't know at that moment in time?
No, you don't know if you've passed or failed at that moment in time, because, I mean, the way it works, there's like 6 or 7 different stations, and it's you go into the PA last. If the PA is not Lisa, generally she lets Lisa or a physician make the decision. So they're not going to fail you or pass you on the spot. Unless it's like, dude, you don't know, right? And I've never heard of that. So we're reliant on that communication from Karen to Don, right? And whether Don wants to do it or whether he wants a commissioner to do it, that's fine by me.
Chief, I see where it should go very quickly to the chief, but we need to run that by Rod, because it looks like there's a gap, a liability gap.
Right.
If somebody knows that somebody isn't physically qualified and there's a time delay, that gets interesting.
Right. So, but there is a remedy. If you fail your physical, the remedy is you get the situation taken care of, and you take a return to duty physical on the district and at the healthcare provider of the district's choice, right? But we had not had a remedy for somebody who has one of those life happens kind of years where they're not able to maintain the 5% call level, or minimum 5% call level. So
I thought, Steve, we discussed that if they didn't meet the 5%, the chief gave them a period of time to actually, I think, respond to 10% of the calls, and then we would not take them off the active list. I remember.
Did we make that a matter of policy, I guess is the question.
We talked about it, but we didn't put it in a resolution and get it in the policy manual.
All right, so I would therefore move that the active membership policy be amended so that a person who has not in the previous calendar year made the minimum 5% of calls be counseled by the chief in the early part of the new calendar year and monitored with the intention of achieving a 10% participation rate in either EMS fire calls for a minimum of 3 months, at which point his situation will be reviewed and we will determine as a board with the chief staff if active membership should be continued. Did you get that, Karen? Because I'm not going to be able to repeat it.
I'm getting there.
A second for discussion.
I thought we had this all spelled out, because I remember seeing it printed out. Now I don't have my hands on it. I've got a drawer upstairs that I've started filling up with paper from our activities here. Yeah, I thought we'd already agreed upon this, and if not agreed upon it, had it stated, and I thought it was a 10% over a shorter period of time, but the chief was the one that was going to monitor this and kind of set up the regulation and see that they were complied with, and if the person did or didn't achieve it, you know?
Yeah, I don't think it ever became policy. We discussed it. I don't think we ever made it a matter of policy. Donnie, you good with that?
Yeah, that's what we said before, Steve, absolutely.
Okay.
Does
Back to
Don
back.
like, does Don like the 10%, or is that pushing it too hard?
Not at all, 10% very lenient.
Mike, you got any questions or concerns?
Nope, I think I'm all good.
All right, Kevin, any questions or concerns?
No, just starting off, I think that's pretty fair too.
All right, Bob, anything else?
I'm good.
Russ, anything to say?
Okay with me.
All right, so let's vote. Bob, what's your pleasure?
Aye.
Kevin,
Aye.
Russ,
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
I vote aye as well. The motion carries. All right. We got communication from Rod on I don't think the bill's been voted on yet. I wasn't quite sure where it ended up.
Hasn't been voted on, but it's getting closer. I
Right.
talked to Houlihan recently also.
So there was a bill in front of the New York State Legislature that would allow the district some leniency in granting LoSAP points because of people's perceived inabilities to participate. It was Ron's recommendation that because we don't have to make the decision until January, it was his recommendation that we wait. I am very much in favor of that. Does anybody have any reservations about waiting till January, or what's your pleasure, folks? If you do, speak now.
Wait.
I think it makes sense to wait, but I don't know how we have like a tickler to just remind us that, you know, we've got to address it towards the end of the year to see if any individual is going to fall under something we may consider. Because
I'll
of that.
remind you, Russ.
Yeah, I'll put a January 2021 agenda. Maybe that's presumptuous.
Well, you people all have to be smart.
January is the time we have to do it because that's when we vote on the LoSAP.
All right. Bob, did we want to talk at all? I didn't hear from Rod. I had forwarded Rod a generic contract from TEK, and he was going to review that, and I didn't hear anything from that. So we probably want to wait on that one as well.
Let it go.
All right. All right, and then Zoom meetings. We fell down a little bit on the job on the Zoom meetings. New York State modified the open meeting law to allow these kinds of electronic assembly, shall we say. But they also made certain requirements upon us. Correct me if I'm wrong, Bob, but the requirements are that a recording be made available within 2 weeks and a transcription be made available within, I think, also 2 weeks.
I think that's correct, but Karen's the expert on this one.
No, I believe that's true, yes.
Yeah, all right. So I think we fell down on both. At this point, Bob Simon, correct me if I'm wrong, the recording, there's a link on our website. You can view the main meeting on YouTube. Is that correct?
That's correct. We got the recording out there. The last meeting was transcribed. That was sent to Karen. And so this meeting will also be recorded with the same method. We should have it out even tonight if we want to.
Yeah, so the goal, by the letter of the law, we should have the transcription and the recording, a link on the website by 6/24.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, the transcription's been done. We've set up a mechanism to do it for the last meeting, and we'll use the same one for this one. So as soon as you guys tell me to put it out there, I will.
All right, we'll do.
Steve, I don't think we need to tell him. When he gets it, put it out there.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay,
I mean,
so I guess the problem was someone was telling me I was supposed, I sent it to Karen, and Karen was saying it needed to be reviewed. So if that's not true, then I would just put both of them out on the web.
Well, but the recording is the recording, right?
Correct.
Karen, what do
Both
you,
need
what do
to
you
be-
say on that?
Both need to be posted 2 weeks after the meeting.
Right. And I don't
What
think
about the
we're-
review, Karen? How much review on the transcription should we worry about?
The transcription is supposed to be word for word, and that, it is what it is. Like the transcription from the last meeting has some of the words are wrong, but it's nothing that really, it doesn't affect it much, I don't think, especially if you watch the recording and then you read the transcription, it melds well together.
Okay.
All right, so we're good. So we're not going to modify the recording. It is what it is, and we can't modify the descriptions or the transcription. So just as soon as we get them accomplished, let's just post them, Bob.
Okay, fair enough. And just keep in mind that for transcriptions, I'm doing a on-demand subscription just because it seemed easier. And so I may spend another $6 to do that, just letting you know.
We got to meet the letter of the law, so I don't think $6 is going to break us.
Steve, on the topic of Zoom,
Yeah.
maybe the folks that are going to meet on the facilities need, they may want to, instead of meet in person, use a Zoom for something.
All
So
right. Well,
it's perfectly up to them.
We can get them set up some way or the other. All right. Annual dinner. We did not obviously have an annual dinner May 9th. We discussed briefly last meeting the idea of a different venue, an outside venue, reduced attendance, picnic kind of deal. And the company is pursuing that. So their dinner committee is meeting on that. You're going to have different kinds of expenses. You're going to have potentially, if you have it at the property next door to the firehouse, you're going to have expenses to rent, bathroom facilities, or you're going to have, expenses for a caterer. But my perspective is that if it's going to be meaningless for the people who should have been recognized in April, if we wait much past July, and I'd like to see this thing get going. So I would make a formal motion that, given the same rules as the annual dinner, we authorize the department dinner committee to plan a picnic or some other kind of outside venue in order to meet the needs and recognize the people that we would normally do at the annual dinner in April or May. So I seek a second on that.
Steve, second for discussion.
All right, discussion then.
And this is just a thought. It doesn't have to be one event. We've budgeted a certain amount for the annual inspection dinner. It's the companies. They can decide, and this is just for me thinking, they can decide what they want to do, whether to have one big one or multiple smaller ones, up to the level that we've budgeted for.
I'm good with that. Does anybody have any reservations on what Bob's saying or what I'm proposing?
I don't think there's any problem with coming in under budget.
No, we're all good with that.
We don't have to spend it all.
Well, just a little bit of history. Typically, in the fire district, in the entire community, it's not just East Clinton. Once a year, the fire district, and it's allowed in state law, pays for an inspection dinner, and we budget it for a certain amount. Now, certainly, we could be frugal on it, but it's kind of a big thank you for the firemen. And in the recent past, this board has pulled back the expenditures that we allowed the company to make. It's kind of tightly controlled, and especially in the COVID year, I'd like to we budgeted and just let them handle it the way they want.
I'm good with that.
I wasn't arguing that. I was just saying that, you don't need to spend it all.
You know, I wonder though about am I on?
You are on.
Yes,
Okay, I'm not lit up here, so I I would like to see it one event, but we don't know the numbers that would be attending. And in July, are we still going to be trying to keep 6 feet away? And can we? I would much prefer to see one event, but I don't know if you can accomplish it. And then if you have to go to multiple events, I don't know. It seems to take away from it for me. It's like,
Yeah, I think that, with the idea that a lot of the restaurants are allowed to open up and serve people outside, I think if we maintain family groups at tables and tables an appropriate distance apart, that I think it's accomplishable, and I think that's part of the task that the company would have to work on. So I would certainly prefer one event, but
would that be on our property there?
yeah, I think potentially that's there was a couple different options, but that certainly is one of the options. Is that company the property over on the other side could be used.
That sounds good to me.
All right.
But obviously it's up to the company to decide.
Yep. Kevin, any questions?
No, that sounds very nice.
All right. That being said, Bob, what's your pleasure? There's a motion and a
yes,
second.
aye.
Russ,
Aye.
Kevin,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
I vote aye as well. Motion carries. Now, Bob Jasinski, you had a concern on the garbage expense and a proposal to reduce that expense. You want to go there?
Yeah, I just was signing the checks and I saw the 144, 145, and I found it's per month. I called Welsh to try to get a better deal. That is the better deal for that size dumpster. They also said that the other fire districts in the area have exactly half the size that we have been maintaining. So if we want to do it, we could cut our 144, 145 in half per
To
month.
70 or 80 bucks a month.
Yeah, and they can increase it if there's some reason to have a larger one for a short period of time. It still would save the district money.
All right. Anybody have, you gonna make a motion in that light then?
Bob, what size dumpster is there right now? Do we know?
I can't give you a number.
Before we go to a smaller dumpster, I mean, is anybody monitoring whether the dumpster is going away half empty or whether it's full? I mean, if you go and get a smaller one and it won't take the capacity, then you're not saving anything. I know the town up here, the town garage, took and got a smaller one. They tell me that the town wanted to save some money, and that the town periodically picks up stuff along the road, and they had stuff laying all over because it wouldn't fit in the dumpster. So I mean, it's if you need the capacity, what you got. If you go without it, go without it. But I think people in the company should be the ones commenting on whether we need that or not.
Well, be careful with that. We can't be spending taxpayers' dollars on activities, say, like fundraisers for the company directly. And this is being picked up, this large container is being emptied once a week. So just be cautious on that. What is it being used for? Don would know.
Well,
And is it filled up every week?
Not my circus, not my monkey, nothing to do with the dumpster.
Well, I don't think the commissioner should have to come up there and look in it and see what's in it before it goes out. I think
Well, what's
that
your
Guaranteed the
observation,
chief
Don?
won't.
we should know whether it's being used necessarily for that capacity or not.
Capacity and for what purpose?
Has anybody observed that this would be, well, I would say let's try it, and if it causes an issue, we can go back.
I'm good with that, but what's Don say?
Don doesn't care. Not my circus, not my monkey.
Well, we can save some money and put it toward that cancer insurance that we just bought.
Well, if Don has no input, then I guess the only option we would do is, like Steve said, we could try for the smaller one, half size. If it doesn't work out, then we can just say we got to go back to the bigger one.
All right, so we had a motion, we had a second. Russ, what's your pleasure?
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
I vote aye as well. Motion carries. Bob, would you be so kind as to call Bob Simon? Would you be so kind as to call Welch and make that happen?
Yes, I will.
All right,
So
and if there's any issues, I know it's not your circus, not your monkey, not your problem, but if you find on that we don't have sufficient capacity, please let us know so we can undo this.
When I see garbage flying around the parking lot, I'll let you know.
Yeah.
This is Bob Simon. So we probably are paying for this month already at 1:45.
Yeah, that's fine.
So I'll have them start next month.
Yeah, fill it up. Let's fill it up while we got it. All right, that pretty much exhausts the topic list of what we want to get into, I think, without Rod here. Does anybody have any new business? Kevin, you just moved on me.
I'm back.
That's it, man.
Hey, Bob Trzynski, I have a favor to ask. Could you work with Kevin and see if you can find an online commissioners class?
Yeah, actually, I sent it. Karen, that email that I sent with all the information in it, that had a commissioner's class. Russ, where did you take your class?
I took it online with, the one up in New York State that I had registered with for Poughkeepsie. I took it online, but I just saw an email that came in, and it was from the state. It had to do with all kinds of things. It had to do with elections and budgets and something else.
That's the one I sent out. Yeah.
It also had in there that they were giving it like in 2 segments. You'd take segment 1 on one day and then another segment on another day. The same fee as I paid, $125 for the certificate. And like I say, that was in that message that come from New York State Association of Fire or something that had
Art
it in.
Art Weiland sent it to me, and I sent it to all you guys.
Well, I'm sure I probably still have it in here, but I don't know.
Yeah, no, I got it.
All right, so you'll get that information to Kevin, please.
I need Kevin's email at some point in time.
Yeah,
I'll get it from Karen.
I'll copy that to you.
Okay.
All right, I can open it up to the public. All participants are unmuted. So if anybody from the public has any questions or concerns, wave your hand so I can recognize you. And then, except for Glenda, you can't wave your hand because I can't see you. But if there's any concerns or questions from the public, now would be the time to bring them up.
No. Just thank everybody for all that hard work.
All righty. Elliot, you good?
Yeah. Fine.
Yeah, the letter that you sent regarding the Salt Point Firehouse Lane, I was wondering if you were looking for any changes like a light or anything.
We asked for a light.
Okay.
We put in for lights 3 times.
All right. Glenda, anything?
So, Steve, is that a flashing light you asked for?
I asked for a light that could be triggered from inside the vehicle so that when we pull out, we can hit a button that it would turn green for us and turn red for everybody else.
Oh, okay. All right.
Elliot, part of the the committee that you're on needs to look at activating the new road exit, the rail bed from the new property.
All right. If there's nothing else from anybody in the public and there's no new business, I covet a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right. I need a second.
I'll second.
All right. Kevin, what's your pleasure?
Aye.
Russ, what's your pleasure?
Aye.
Mike, what's your pleasure?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Very good. I vote aye as well. Motion carries. Good job. I think I can turn recording off, and I wish everyone a good night.
8:28. That's a
Record.
that's a record.